Chapter 3. Growing Plants. Introduction. The Earth is the only planet that supports life. However, for life to go on, all living things must produce more of their own kinds, i.e., they must reproduce. Thus, reproduction becomes an important process for continuity of life on the Earth. Reproduction in plants is not only for them but for animals and human beings also. Plants reproduce either through seeds or other parts like leaves, roots, stem, etc. Growing plants are important as life depends largely on them. Plants and plant products meet our everyday needs. That is why we need to grow more plants. We see different kinds of plants all around. Reproduction in plants. Reproduction is the process by which the living organisms produce more of their own kind. Reproduction in plants is done not only from seed but also from the flower, stems and leaves. A flower is the main reproductive part of a plant. There are 4 main parts of a flower which are as follows. Petals. These are the outer colored part of the flower. These are of different shapes and brightly colored. The petals have a pleasant smell and attract the insects for pollination. They also protect the internal parts of the flower. Some flowers have only one petal while others have many. Separate or joined petals. Pistil. Inside the petals there is pistil. It contains ovary. Inside the ovary there are egg cells. The egg cells become the seeds. The top of the pistil is narrow. The tip is sticky and the ovary is attached to the lower part of the pistil. Sepals. There are green leaf-like structures at the base of a flower. They protect the flower at bud stage. Stamens. These are the parts of a flower that produce pollen grains. Pollen grains contain sperm cells. The top of the stamen contains pollen sacs. The pollen sacs contain millions of pollen grains inside them. Pollination. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther of the stigma of flower is called pollination. We know that insects feed on the nectar of flowers. While feeding on a flower, pollen grains from the anthers get stuck to their body. When the insects move to the stigma of a similar flower, the pollen grains fall on the stigma. After some time, when pollen grains have fallen on stigma, a small tube known as pollen tube comes out of a pollen grain and grows through the style to reach the ovary. When the pollen tube reaches the ovary, fertilization takes place. The cells in the pollen tube fuse with the ovules. After fertilization, the ovule starts growing into seeds and the ovary, as a whole, becomes a fruit. As the fruit matures, the petals dry up and fall off. Structure of a seed. A seed is made up of 3 parts. 1. Seed coat. It is the hard outer covering of the seed protects the seed. 2. Cotyledons. Seed leaves. Cotyledons are special seed leaves. They store food for the growing seeds. Seeds having 2 cotyledons are called dicots. Examples are gram, pea and bean. Some seeds like maize, wheat and rice have only 1 cotyledon and are called monocots. 3. Embryo. It is the tiny part hidden at the base of the seed leaves. Seedlings grow from the embryo. Germination of seed. Growing of a baby plant from a seed is called germination. Plants produce a very large number of seeds but all of them do not germinate. The seeds begin to germinate only under favorable conditions. Seeds need air, water and warmth for germination. A germinating seed needs air because it requires oxygen for breathing. Hence, seeds do not germinate in the absence of air. Water is also needed for germination because it helps to soften the seed coat. It also changes the food stored in the cotyledons into a soluble form for the use of the baby plant. Sometimes cotyledons grow above the soil and make food for the new plant. When new plant is able to prepare its own food, cotyledons dry and shed off. Proper temperature, warmth, is also needed for the germination of seed. The warmth makes the cell of the embryo active, so that they start growing. The seed absorbs water through the seed hole. The roots grow first. These grow downwards. Then the shoot starts growing upward. When the seed becomes a seedling, the food in the cotyledons is used up. The seedling grows green leaves and starts making its own food. It soon grows into an adult plant. Dispersal of seeds. The process by which seeds are scattered away from the mother plant is called dispersal. In dispersal of seeds, if all seeds produced by a plant falls below the parent plant, a large number of plants will then start growing at one place. They will not get enough space, water, minerals and sunlight, and so they will not be able to grow well. Many of them would die. Nature has therefore arranged some methods by which the seeds of a plant are scattered over huge distances. Some ways of seed dispersal are given below. Agents of seed dispersal. 1. Water. The seeds of aquatic plants and the plant that grow near the water are dispersed by water. The coconut has a thick fiber coat which helps it to float. The lotus has a spongy fruit that can float in water and is taken away far from the parent plant. 2. Wind. The seeds of some plants are very light. They have wing-like structures of hair on them. These are easily carried away by wind. Cotton heptage and dandelion are the examples of such plants. 3. Animals. Human beings and animals eat some fruits and throw away the seeds. Some seeds like cocklebur have hooks or spines with which they stick to our clothes or fur of animals. They pass out unharmed in the waste. They germinate where they fall. 4. Explosion of fruits. Some fruits burst open or explode when they become dry. The force of explosion helps the seeds to scatter away. The dispersal of a pea pod, poppy and balsam seeds takes place by explosion. Growing plants from other parts of a plant. Some plants can be grown without seeds. In certain cases, new plants are grown from other parts by different methods. The parts of plants from which new plants are grown are roots, stems and leaves. Some common methods of growing new plants are discussed below. From stems. The method of growing new plants from other parts of a plant is called vegetative propagation. Stem is the part of the plant just above the root. Rose, hibiscus and sugarcane are grown from stem cutting. You grow roses, money plant, etc. by cutting small pieces of the stem during the raining season and planting them into the soil. After a few days, the cutting grows into new plants. From roots. The lower part of a plant is called root. Roots of sweet potato and sugarcane give rise to new plants. From leaves. The bryophyllum plants reproduce with the help of buds present on the edges of the leaves. These buds grow into new plants. From tips of branches, layering. Some plants like jasmine reproduce new plants with the help of the tip of its branches. To get a new jasmine plant, the side branches are bent towards the ground and covered with moist soil, keeping the tip free. After a few days, new roots develop from branch and produce new plant, baby plants. Later these plants get separated from the parent plant and form new plant. Growing of grass. Some plants creeps along the ground like green carpet. Side branches grow out of the creeping stems. They separate and grow into new plants. These are called runners. Grass grows by this method only.